Alright, what's going on, Brother Steve? Back. Make sure the mic adjusted good here. Good to go. And brothers and sisters of YouTube, while it's Labor Day weekend and I pretty much caught up on a lot of my chores, I figure I'd take advantage of this moment to, do video responses and also teach a lot of stuff that I kind of been delaying because of my busy schedule. So thought I'd take advantage, and this may be the last one. So moving on. But anywho, back to about the Israelites. Romans chapter 11, where I left off in the first video response, and I want to read, start with verse 25, since I already read the rest of it. But I do not want you to be ignorant of this mystery, brothers, so that you may not be conceited. Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of the Gentiles has come in. So that's why I said the time of the Gentiles, and indeed you see that, Asians and whites, not no black supremacist thing here or nothing, but truth don't take sides, stand on his own. And so all Israel will be saved, that is written. All Israel will be saved. So there's no negligence of Israel at all, none whatsoever from the Father. He said all Israel will be saved. Well, at least a big majority of them. And we know that from Revelation chapter 7, about the 144,000 out of each tribe, 12,000 out of each tribe. So he does care about Israel. He didn't do away with the Israelites. So these awakened Hebrew Israelite brothers, they have the truth. They just coming out fierce with it, and that's why I advise them to come humble. Now I know they like, hey, you ain't finna lie to us no more. You ain't finna bury our history no more. We finna get the truth out no matter what. Okay, I understand it, so that's why a lot of them come fierce. But me, I come the humble approach. Sometimes I come a little stern, like, hey, you trying to lie, you trying to beat around the bush, I'm gonna have to lay out the hammer. You're gonna have to get the left hook or the haymaker, whichever one. But as far as orally. But moving on, Romans chapter 11, still the whole chapter. Okay, it says, so that you may not be conceited, Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of the Gentiles come in. Now, Paul is talking to the Gentiles. He is talking about Israel to the Gentiles. He says, I do not want you to be ignorant of this mystery, brothers, so that you may not be conceited. So, those who think, like a lot of Islam, teachers in Islam think Israel has been done away with. Israel is no longer God's chosen people. He no longer has a covenant with them. Wrong. He never said he forsake them or no longer had a covenant. So that's why he says, don't be conceited, Gentiles. Don't be conceited. It said Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of the Gentiles has come in. So it's like this is the only reason why they suffering right now. And also as far as the curse is not because of them teaching another gospel. The curse is not because trying to be under the law, because Christ became the law. Christ is the law. He said he came not to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. But the curse is still upon Israel because of disobedience. That's why. So even though being free out of the 400 years, or the 400-year curse may not be up. It may not be up. It may still be here, but you can still see the curse, the shooting and killing one another, robbing and stealing from one another, poverty, children out of wedlock, all is still there. Still there amongst the Israelites. You still see famine in the land over in Africa because Canaan was on the edge of Africa, where Kenya and Somalia and all them places at. There was Canaan. There was the land of Canaan, that whole section on the edge of East Africa. But now it's been broken down, just like the United States was a whole piece of land and been broken in sections. But it says, Romans chapter 11, the deliverer will come from Zion. He will turn godliness away from Jacob. So he still care about them. He said, and this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. So he's still for Israel. Still for them. As far as the history, yeah. Told you what to do on that. As far as the gospel is concerned, they are enemies on your account. As far as the gospel is concerned. But as far as election is concerned, they are loved on the account of the patriarchs. So it says, as far as the gospel is concerned, they are enemies. They enemies to the gospel. And you can still, with the Jews turning away, not trying to hear Paul when he was trying to preach about the gospel of Christ. So them being enemies to the gospel, like, nah, nobody trying to hear that. But it says, as far as election is concerned, as far as who God elected as his chosen people, they are loved on the account of the patriarchs. And who are the patriarchs? They are loved on the account of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Alright? It said, for God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Just as you who were at one time disobedient to God have now received mercy as a result of their disobedience. It's talking about Israel. So it's like this is the reason he shifted over to the Gentiles. It says because of the disobedience of Israel, you receive mercy for your disobedience, so his gospel can be proclaimed. So they too have now become disobedient in order that they too may now receive mercy as a result of God's mercy to you. For God has bound all men over to disobedience so that he may have mercy on them all. So pretty much, finishing up in Romans chapter 11 as far as with Israel, and as far as you talking about the Gentiles and you talking about Christianity, where Christianity came in effect when our ancestors rejected the gospel and the Gentiles labeled themselves Christians. That's what they would new name. Instead of being called Gentiles, they new name and called Christians. Because they're like, okay, since we following this doctrine of Christ, it's not the Gentiles who follow Christ's ways, but Christians. So as far as the Israel here in America, the blacks or so-called blacks here in America, so-called African Americans, to call yourself a Christian is to call yourself a Gentile. You are not a Gentile. You are either of one of the 12 tribes of Israel, of Judah, or Ephraim, or Manasseh, whichever one. Now the brother says, well, how do you know all blacks came from Jews? That's a good question. A majority of them came from Judah. And we know this because of in Zechariah chapter 11. So like I said, bro, you check the video segment out. I already laid that out. So that's why a majority of them came from Judah, because of the enslavement of Judah. What happened in Judah. And the rest of the Israelites, which also in the Native American tribes. Those also are Israelite tribes. So the Israelites weren't just of one complexion. Of course, there was different shades of brown. Light brown to dark. So they too are Israel. Which the Mexicans is, I'm going to do another video response on some of the brothers saying, the Mexicans, they not no Israelites. They not Israelites. Them some imposters. Who are these people? Because if I'm not mistaken, it was thoroughly told to them they should be called by my name, as our forefather Jacob had spoken. And there's more information on it. But I'll wrap that up, and that's probably going to be the last video segment for quite some time, in a couple of months maybe, I don't know, or until my vacation. So peace be unto you, brother Steve, and brothers and sisters, and as always, Christ for life. Yeah.